cozy group here, so if anytime you want to orient or come up close, or please do. It's nice to be here tonight, and thank you so much. So at this time, like, I just would like everyone to know that this is a conversation, and anytime, please raise your hand or ask a question. This is not like you have to listen. It's totally interactive. And I just love to hear any feedback or any questions that pop up. So this last week we did a webinar, so we're going to go over the webinar a little bit, and then there's going to be another section which we're going to do the 3 protocols for the yoga for weight loss, yoga for mood balancing, and yoga for insomnia. So we'll just go over that, and again, please just shout out or ask a question if you have any questions as we go through some of these slides. So I'm really excited about this. I've been teaching yoga for almost 10 years now, and I started when I was 21, and I was a mover, and I love dance, and I just, even when I used to hear music, it was just my impulse to move, you know, and so little did I know that when I was 21 and I started my yoga practice, that it would bring me to a place today where it is like I practice every day, you know. And yoga is not just about asana, and asana is the Sanskrit word for posture, where you do the yoga postures. There's 8 other limbs of practicing yoga. Like, you can practice yoga not by stretching, but it's one of them. It's an integrative way of really receiving it, and it's a body-centered approach to finding regulation in the body-mind connection. So we'll learn a bit more about that. So so it does go over to the right a little bit. I'm correct about that. So millions of people do suffer from depression, anxiety. I was one of them. Still am. I think it's normal to have anxiety living in the Western world here. It's the 3rd most common, all the antidepressants are the 3rd most common prescribed drugs, so it continued increasing over the past 20 years. Yoga is a form of meditation and exercise that connects the mind and body in a unique self-guided healing process. The use of yoga has increased over the past 10 years. Studies have found benefits of yoga for decreasing depression and anxiety. And I call this the Getting Your Healing Journey because it really is. It's a journey, yoga. You know, it's like one of those things. When I started yoga, it started, and then it started me. Even though I might not have been practicing yoga, it was still working. And last year I had the great honor of working with UCSD and doing a yoga study where we studied the effects of the yoga practice on the parasympathetic nervous system. And there was many questions we asked when you do those studies. It was a 3-month study. Does it help you lose weight? Does it reduce anxiety? Does it help with depression? How does it affect the system? And so being part of an evidence-based data and research study, we got to see, and I got to work firsthand on seeing how it affects our lives. So we'll dive a little bit more into that. If you're dealing with depression, anxiety, and any other mood disorder, yoga can be an appealing way to better manage your symptoms. Scientific studies of yoga demonstrate that yoga therapy is a low-risk, high-yield approach to improving mental health. One of the studies found that after 3 months of practicing yoga, study participants reported that depression improved by 50%. Their anxiety improved by 30%, their overall well-being improved by 65%. Other studies of individuals with bipolar disorder, manic depression, and schizophrenia also reported a significant drop in layers of anxiety, depression, and anxiety, other tension, hostility, and fatigue. So this is what our statistics showed at UCSD. They were very high, really, we call it significantly statistic, right? Like it's a high rate. So, and that's if we practice 3 days a week, okay? That's 3 times a week. Yoga can also contribute to your overall physical fitness by targeting your flexibility and balance, and also with adequate sleep and nutritious diet, exercise, flexibility, aerobic, and strength form the basis of general good health. Overall health can help you deal with a chronic illness like bipolar disorder. So bipolar medications are very good at taking care of mania, but they aren't as effective at managing anxiety and depression. So similarly, medications used for anxiety and depression pose a risk of triggering mania. So So adding yoga and meditation as a complementary treatment for bipolar disorder can help better manage these symptoms, possibly reduce the amount of medication they need to take, as well as helps bipolar patients reduce feelings of depression, anxiety, anger, and calms emotions. So it's really nice. What I notice with a lot of my students will say is, it's happened with me too, is if I haven't done my yoga practice, whatever, in a couple of days, you can feel it. You kind of start feeling tight and agitated. So when you start getting into the practice, your system starts to get used to that. So how does yoga work? Well, by reducing perceived stress and anxiety, yoga appears to modulate stress response systems that in turn decreases physiological arousal. For example, reducing the heart rate, lowering blood pressure, and easing respiration or breathing. There's also evidence that yoga and meditation practices help increase heart rate variability, an indicator of the body's ability to respond to stress more flexibly. Many studies found that practicing yoga may elevate levels of GABA aminobutyric, which is GABA in the brain, which positively affects a person's ability to handle stress. So that's how it works. It helps build, when you practice yoga 3 days a week or more, it builds the levels of GABA, which is huge. In the last decade, particularly with meditation, as we move channels here, medical science has discovered something already well known within many cultures. Meditation can be a potent part of any holistic healing program for people with bipolar disorder. So does anybody in this room practice yoga or meditation on a regular basis? Or tried it? Yeah? Okay, cool. Yeah. So this is going to be information that will either support what you already experience and know, and for those who are new, who are interested in trying, this hopefully will be a welcome, an invitation. Like, oh, you know, sometimes I remember when I looked in the yoga rooms, I'd be like, what are they doing? And I'd like check it out first before I try it, you know? So just gathering all the data. So meditation equalizes everything, including unbalanced moods. Bipolar patients who introduce meditation to their daily routine see a greater sense of peace and leveling of their moods for at least several hours after each meditation session. Eventually, meditation leads an overall higher state of mental awareness, all of the time never getting too high or too low, constantly maintaining a well-balanced yet advanced state of mind. Yeah, so it's one of those things I've never heard a student say, God, I should have done that meditation. Or, oh, I should have done that yoga class. Yeah. So staying with meditation boosts our very same neurotransmitters that bipolar medications do. Insufficient serotonin, dopamine, and GABA are all super important brain chemicals, greatly impact mood and overall mental health. It may come as no surprise that bipolar medications, SSRIs, work to increase all of the mood-elevating chemicals. Meditation makes you a witness to your thoughts. The fluctuations of the mind do not emotionally affect those who are in a state of meditation, nor while outside of meditation for the skilled practitioner. Once the meditator's mind becomes naturally detached in a healthy and good way, he or she does not attach to any particular state. Whether high or low, meditation puts you in the driver's seat of your mind. So when we say, I feel angry, we don't need to be angry. Right? We're not identifying with the mood. We are observing the fluctuation of the system and saying, I know what you are, but I am not you. Right? Let's move on. So meditation activates the brain's CEO, the prefrontal cortex. You can think of the prefrontal cortex as the control center of the brain with the executive functions such as knowing right from wrong, good and bad, outcomes of actions, and overall orchestration of thoughts. Of particular significance, this brain region has a major effect on personality disorders, particularly namely depression. Studies conclude that meditation healthfully boosts brain region, effectively smoothing out the manic while deactivating the depression. In fact, Harvard just put out a really great study. They're studying the brains of Tibetan monks and what their brain scans are showing while meditating. It's really fascinating. Meditation can bring a normal life to a bipolar sufferer. Once the practice of meditation becomes habitual, the bipolar client will develop an an internal set of skills such as moving from a state of confusion and anxiety to one of peace and inner calm. Meditation may be the closest thing to a cure for bipolar disorder, leaving an ordinary life within reach. Truly. So yoga for weight loss. We're going to switch channels and move over and notice that yoga is a known stress reducer, but it's also one of the most effective workouts for fighting stubborn fat stores, especially for the ones that crop up after the age of 40. Yes, we can use yoga for weight loss. So studies show that yoga lowers levels of stress hormones and increases insulin sensitivity, a signal to your body to burn food as fuel rather than stored as fat. Yoga for weight loss benefits are both physiological and psychological. Calories burned during yoga vary from 180 to 360 per hour depending on the type of yoga you practice. So that's what we noticed in the study at UCSD, because we have different ways of measuring data, which is called accelerometers and taking blood and things like that, and all the women had lost weight around their midsections because we were working on the hormone levels and cortisol had gone down. Better overall health and no bad side effects. Losing weight by doing yoga also conditions all the internal organs, and in addition to getting rid of the excess fat. This means you will not only lose the weight, but you'll continue your practice. You'll find yourself getting thinner and more healthy and fit. In addition, you'll enjoy all the profound benefits that yoga bestows, and not just the weight loss aspect. Permanent weight loss with yoga. Experiences of the yoga therapy programs to treat obesity have shown that weight loss from yoga therapy is proven to be permanent. This is certainly not the case when we use chemicals or other gimmicks. The weight lost by those methods tend to return in a hurry once they are discontinued. This is not the case with yoga, as long as you maintain a minimum and healthy foods diet. So you're practicing regularly and you're putting in good, clean, healthy foods in the system. So when you use yoga for weight loss, the body is gently brought back into alignment, and underlying causes for the weight gain, whether they are emotional or biochemical, are also resolved. Also, since yoga works with the body to achieve optimal health, the excess weight once shed is no longer regained when the yoga is stopped. I would thought recommended continuing the yoga practices if you can, so you can continue to obtain the other benefits such as the practice bestows. So, yoga, and particularly we'll go over some of the protocols today for the weight loss part, is we're getting the heart rate up, you're moving, and a lot's happening. You get some anaerobic activity. Extreme exercise is not necessary for losing weight. Studies show that even gentle yoga exercises done with moderate effort are good enough to put you on track to meet your weight loss goals. So you don't need to undertake an extreme fitness regimen. Have you ever guys seen the P90X yoga? I still have not tried that, ever. It looks like it's kill yourself. Do you know what I'm talking about, P90X? Mm-hmm. They're, the online, and the guys, amazing. Tony Horton, yes. Right? That's extreme. That takes your system way high, which means what happens? You crash. Right? So yes, when doing yoga in a sensible way, the weight loss is not going to happen overnight, but you can expect consistently to lose 5 pounds a month safely, naturally, without doing any harm to your body. Any questions at this time? Anything bubbling up? Interest? No? Okay. Yoga for mood balancing. So this is where I see the most effects in my practice, is the balancing. Because sometimes when I go to practice myself, or even when I go to teach, I'll have a certain mood, and then afterwards it's just everything's good again. So I really feel like the yoga for mood balancing has been the one that's helped me the most and has helped my system the most. Yoga can help many symptoms of depression and bipolar disorder, including mood swings, fear, anxiety, tension, and lethargy. One way yoga helps is to release the energetic blockages that are called gratis in Sanskrit. These are knots that form in the navel region, the seat of personal power, the heart center, and the seat of the emotional body, and the throat, which is the seat of expression. When we release these blockages, our physical and emotional layers open and energy flows freely. And this energy is called prana. And prana is the essential life force of all beings. So when prana flows freely through the body, we feel vital and healthy. We reconnect with others and become a part of the world. So the sequence of yoga poses and breath work is designed to help you release blockages and to release and untangle the knots. Doing this sequence regularly can bring into your life a glimpse into our connection with universal energy and its abiding, supporting role in our well-being. By opening your body and centering your mind, you can balance the ups and downs of bipolar mood swings and can change anxiety to calmness, sadness to happiness, lethargy to vitality. You can glimpse your connection with universal energy and find its abiding, supporting role in your well-being. And this has all been my experience. This has really been really nice. There's been a lot of challenging times when I was having a hard time in life and I'd go to a yoga class or do some yoga practice, and afterwards I was like, whoa, what just happened? Like, I feel so much better. So according to Stephen Cope, the psychotherapist and author of Yoga and the Quest for the True Self, has written that yoga postures improve the mood by moving energy through the places in the body where feelings of grief and anger are stored. Our kidneys, right, our heart center. Yoga, Hatha yoga is accessible form of learning self-soothing, he says. These blockages and these blocks, feelings can be released very quickly, creating a regular, systematic experience of well-being. So I also brought some of the books that are references from all the information that I cited in this and the other PowerPoint information content I use. So if you're interested in taking a look at those books, they're some of the best ones. How yoga releases emotional blockages. So how is that done? We say it, but how? You know? So every experience in the mind is accompanied by shifts in the body chemistry. When you say, I feel depressed, you're acknowledging that your body is generally, there's some disturbing sensations, right? You feel in the heart and the mind, and you don't feel good. So feelings are so named because we feel them in our body. These sensations result from changes in hormone levels and in pattern of nerve firings within your nervous system. These psychological shifts persist long after the emotional upsetting experience that first triggered them. Over time, your mind-body system reflects your emotional history. Through yoga, you can release the emotional toxicity stored in the body. Just as changing thought patterns can influence the body, changing the position of the body can influence the mind and facilitate emotional release. As you stretch your muscles and expand your range of motion, you shift the bodily patterns that translate constriction and free the flow of vital life force energy known as prana. For instance, slow, deep, conscious breathing is very effective in prompting the relaxation response to counter elevated levels of stress hormones, also the parasympathetic nervous system. An important component of yoga is paying close attention to what's going on internally in the body at all times, locating and releasing the areas of tension. It's called tracking our energy. Although we can feel the healing effects of yoga just after one session, a regular practice is required if you want to experience the full benefits yoga offers. In addition, yoga should ideally be practiced with the guidance of an experienced teacher. There's many styles of yoga and traditions to choose from. Some have greater focus on physical fitness, while others are more meditative or spiritually based. It's important to explore and find a practice and teacher that resonates for you. Just like finding a car you like to drive, a certain kind of clothes you like to wear. You know, just because if you go to one class you don't like a teacher doesn't mean you stop going. You have to you go out there and find out who you resonate with. It's kind of like that, you know. I was lucky to find my teacher when I was 21, and I've had several different kinds of teachers. So you just never know. So I would suggest that, you know, if I offer one public class a week in Del Mar, and then I do privates and stuff, but wherever you live, I would be happy to share where your local yoga studios are, or where I know people who are in your area, where it may be accessible. Because that's what it's all about, accessibility, you know, like doing it at home, being able to like know what works for you in your community. Okay. Yeah. Hi, Beth.
So, in terms of paying attention to what's going on in your body, obviously you're not always able to pull out your mat and start your yoga poses. So are there things that you can do short-term, temporarily to get you through that feeling, or whatever it may be at the moment.
Yes. There's these things we call them, there's like this thing called the heart hug, right? And there's like these things you do sitting down that help shift, like you're feeling anxiety or really upset or the heart's beating fast, and I can show you a little bit more about that. There's ways you work with the hands, these hand pulls, which are really effective. And, you know, in Chinese medicine, the feet, reflexology, and the hands are really the basis of helping to shift our system. There's a lot of organs that correlate to our feet and our hands. And so we get to get there's the pressure points you can work on as well. And then there's some breathing exercises. So absolutely there's ways to, I would say, shift your system in a very mindful way that you don't have to throw down the yoga mat for sure. And I'd be more than glad to share that with you. Great, thank you, you're welcome. So I had to add about our food, even though this is yoga, because once you start doing yoga, guess what happens? You get a lot more sensitive and you start noticing what you're putting in your mouth. And just like a car, the quality of the fuel we put in the car directly correlates to the quality of the output, right? So just in the human system. So that's why I had to put in about diet and eating a mood-boosting diet. Diet may play a big part in protecting against depression. Mediterranean countries have low rates of depression compared to countries farther north. And it isn't because they just get more sunlight or have more of a relaxed way of life. There was this huge study that tracked almost 3,500 people living in London for 5 years and found that those who ate a Mediterranean diet were 30% less likely to develop depression. Researchers speculate that foods in the Mediterranean diet may act synergistically to enhance mood. Olive oils, nuts, fatty fish are rich in omega-3s and unsaturated fatty acids that help restore balance to the body. Fresh fruits and vegetables contain flavonoids and phytochemicals that are full of antioxidants and folates, B vitamins. So I'm a big advocate when it comes to food and our brain chemistry and, you know, genetically modified organisms, or foods that aren't organic. Processed foods are a breeding ground for creating a brain that just kind of thrives in depression and anxiety. So really cleaning up our food helps clean up our system as well. So we're going to move on to yoga for insomnia, and this is on the last slide here before we're going to get into our physical practice. Yoga can help relax the mind and body for those who suffer from insomnia or other sleep problems. Yoga for insomnia variations that can help calm the mind and body. If you have a hard time falling asleep or staying asleep, yoga might be your ticket to dreamland. Insomnia has many causes, including stress, hormonal changes, chronic pain, etc. Lack of sleep can worsen these conditions, causing a discouraging cycle of sleep deprivation and daytime fatigue. Practicing yoga can help bring balance and peace to your life, which can result in deeper and more regular sleep. So I used to really struggle with insomnia. So all these issues I used to struggle with, and it was amazing to see the healing power of yoga, and how I don't experience this anymore. So practicing yoga to treat insomnia stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, also known as the rest and digest response. Learning to relax your system and reduce muscle tension will positively affect your ability to sleep. In the Yoga for Insomnia lecture series and yoga sequence, there will be some ways yoga can help you get some quality shut-eye by lowering stress levels, calming the mind, and relieving tension in the body. The soothing practice can be an effective natural sleep remedy. Certain resting inversion poses can be particularly helpful for combating restlessness and insomnia, especially when practiced in the evening or in bed before hitting the hay. Restore balance through yoga. So when we're coping with emotional pain, a purely mental or intellectual approach isn't always enough. Although our mind may try to think its way out of pain, it can quickly become confused or trapped in repetitive thought patterns that actually intensify our emotional turmoil. When we invite our body and spirit to be part of the healing process, however, a transformation can unfold. There's a reason why the body and mind work together, right? We're talking about we hold those emotions in our body. So by doing the yoga and practicing yoga, we get to release this stuff. The ancient Buddhist tradition of yoga offers practices that unite the mind, body, and spirit, allowing us to experience deep emotional well-being and restful awareness. When your physical, intellectual, and spiritual selves are working in union, our life becomes more balanced and we become more flexible, both physically and emotionally. So this is a really important part when we're trying to get ready for bed, right? Because we got this like thought loop happening, and so this is where we add self-acceptance and self-love. So depression is sometimes described as anger towards turned inward. Many people were taught growing up that it isn't polite to express anger or other emotions. They push down their unacceptable feelings down for many years, but ultimately these disowned feelings may manifest as depression. And if you have been suppressing or judging certain of your feelings as bad or dangerous, you may feel a sense of numbness and disconnection from yourself and others. If you can learn to remove that wall and accept and acknowledge and love yourself completely, you may find that depression naturally starts to dissipate. Reestablishing this connection inside you is not difficult, but you have to develop a habit of avoiding yourself or your feelings. It will require some discipline and commitment to overcome the old patterns and establish new patterns. Here's a practice that can help. So I remember when I was, one of the reasons I was so involved with yoga, even though I was working in a corporate job, I helped Lululemon start their first showroom in San Diego. It was in Del Mar, like in 2007. So I did it on the weekends. I worked a full-time job Monday through Friday. I did a corporate job doing marketing. And then on the weekends, I helped set up this showroom when we were assessing and branding the market. And I did these tapes by Brian Tracy, and it was part of the Lululemon pipeline of management. And why I was doing that too is they were paying me to go to yoga. They paid for my time in yoga. This was amazing, right? And so I would listen to this man named Brian Tracy, and these tapes would be like, I like myself, I like myself, I like myself. Like these affirmations, I like myself. I'm like, this is so dumb, I thought it was like the weirdest thing ever, but guess what? It worked. Because there were so many parts of myself I didn't like, but I didn't want to address it. And so it was so nice was, these are these patterns where we start to choose new thoughts, new ideas, new beliefs about ourselves. And when we start doing that with the yoga, there's a new neurotransmitter response, a new impulse that starts to activate. So I'm doing this integrated yoga series at Yoga Del Mar, and in April, even though I'm going to be showing you some of the sequencing tonight, this will be a more of a thoughtful, thought-out process. And if this interests you and you would like to join, I invite you to. And we have flyers here, and Yoga Del Mar is giving 20% off all the International Bipolar Foundation members and people associated. So if this interests you or you know anyone else who would like to join you, please take a flyer and join us in April. And it's nice because the yoga for insomnia is right before bedtime, that will be really lovely. And it's all on a Sunday in the afternoon. So now we'll go to the next presentation. And these are all the sources. If any of this is an interest to you, please, I'm sure Doug can send it to you. We have all the resources for you to read. And when I was getting a science degree, I wrote all my theses on how to treat yoga treat depression with yoga. So much research research and evidence-based data is out there. It's really fascinating. Like, why is this out and about? Talking about, why is everybody talking about this? Well, I'm talking about it. So, yoga and wellness. So I have a wellness business. I go to the corporations, I do wellness, bringing a culture of wellness into these companies. So these are some of these slides. It's a little transition. So what about why yoga? Stress is an overriding factor of illness and stress in the workforce, right? We spend most of our life at work, right? Imagine. So a growing body of research indicates that yoga and meditation may serve to lower the stress associated with being confined to sitting at a desk for hours at a time. So when I worked in the corporation, I always had one of those balls. So if you can, get one of those medicine balls and start sitting on those. If you add it, one day an hour and the next day 2 hours. What is this doing? It's strengthening the core and the back, which is a symbiotic relationship, right? You have to have both. So More and more companies are investing in the wellness of their employees and the beliefs that reducing stress in the workplace will translate to happier, healthier people and make stronger businesses, which is true. So having yoga, wellness, meditation classes as a means of connecting with your colleagues is a great way of creating a culture of wellness in the workplace, encouraging an overall happier, healthier working and living experience. So yoga for weight loss, we're gonna get into this. Let's go over. So flow between warrior two pose and extended side angle from Adho Mukha Shavasana. So what I love about this, so downward facing dog pose. So I'm going to demonstrate. This is going to be fun. It's my first time doing a talk and demonstrating. So yoga for weight loss, we talked about in the previous slides. This is where we're heating up, right? We're heating up the system. So I'm going to go into downward facing dog. And then I'm going to come into extended, and I'll come into warrior two pose, and then into extended side angle so you can see what that looks like. And so we call this a flow. And flow is also known as vinyasa, moving with breath. So you place the hands down and you come into a B position. So this is downward facing dog. Okay, you spread the fingers, feet are parallel hip width distance. You're taking the thighs and hips back, lifting the pelvis to the sky. So this is a good one. You step your right foot forward. And the front heel bisects the back arch. So this is based on, thank you, Michelangelo, the golden beam. So this is warrior two, right? All right, so we're going from warrior two pose to extended side angle and place the right forearm on thigh and you stretch the left arm over. So this extended side angle. So really nice. You come all the way up. And you keep the legs the same. So you're basically in a lunge pose and extending side to side. And you do this. You pulse anywhere from 3 to 5 times, and then you add it. So then 5 to 10, right? And you move with the breath. And that's what yoga is. The yoga started first as a meditation, and then we started to move with the meditation. The yoga poses came out of the meditation. So then you would side to side, then other side, extended side angle, moving side to side. All right. We'll go on to the next pose. Okay. Yeah. Flow between goddess and temple pose. Okay. So from warrior two on the left side, exhale and straighten your left leg. So I'm also in the process of doing photos and videos, so I don't have on there, it's a different pose up there. So goddess pose looks like this, right? Also known as kind of horse pose. So it's a big squat position, right? We're using our glutes, we're using our quads, our inner thighs, all this good stuff. And then from temple pose, we're gonna roll your weight in out of the feet, knees to legs, send your arms thigh, so your feet will support. Yeah. So we come all the way down, right? Inhale up. And the exhale, you're coming all the way down. So it's basically these squats, right? But you're really moving the system up and down, coming down and up. Okay? Any questions there? So we
go down, we inhale.
Yes,
Go down,
exhale.
inhale.
Great. Exhale down and inhale up. And you'll feel that when you start to notice your inhales all extend up. And all exhales is when we're releasing and we're bringing the arms down. And then you try the opposite and you're like, oh, that doesn't feel natural. Okay, next one. Flow between table and boat pose. Okay, so this is on the floor. So you might have to do. Table, of course, is as it sounds, right? On the hands and knees. And you're coming back. And here's your boat. So you have to balance on your sacrum or your seat, and it engages the core. Flowing back in here. And then you'll add that legs eventually to a high plank. You're going back and forth. Right? Or you can also cross the knees, roll forward, depending on level of ability and how your body's feeling. You can also stretch the legs straight into a plank position. Okay, next one. Single leg raises. So we're down on the ground for this one. Right, we use this You can lay on your back, and you can also stay up. And you're stretching the legs, right? And when you're in a class, it's one thing or the other. You know, it's like when you're in a class, you have the collective consciousness, it's easy. When you're at home, it's like, oh, it's easier to watch TV or Netflix. So that's why it's nice to be with people. That's why we do the yoga classes. We're in community, we're all supporting each other. Okay, next one. Whew. Adho Mukha Shavasana. This is downward facing dog with supported. So in yoga, we use these things called blocks, which are props, right? We have blankets, we have blocks. And the reason why we have those is to help support us as we're gradually, as our system, our body's changing. And we need sometimes to raise the floor, you know, or we need a little bit more cushioning so it's more comfortable. We're Western bodies. Yoga was started with Indian boys, okay? Like, they didn't have boobs, they didn't have big head, you know, or hips, you know, it's different. So we use this. So you would have a block. I didn't bring a block tonight. And you put the block down and you let your head rest on the block as you come into downward facing dog. And you hold this pose as long as you can. What's important to really emphasize is whenever you feel pain, back off. That's when it needs to get out of the pose. Pain is an indication that we're misaligned in some way. Okay, cobra pose, Bhujangasana. This is a great pose. So you're in downward facing dog. You bend the knees, stretch the legs back, come all the way onto your belly. Place the hands by your chest. And you plug the shoulder blades back. You squeeze the legs together and press the toenails onto the ground. And then inhale, rise. So this is your Bhujangasana, so the cobra pose. The shoulder blades back, stretch the legs. It stretches the whole front body. It's called the psoas. The big muscle all the way from your rib cage all the way down to your knees. That muscle is what's responsible for lifting your leg as you go up and down stairs. That stretches that big muscle, also known as the muscle of the soul. It's called the muscle of the soul, right? It's our whole front body. So that's why that Bhujangasana, that cobra pose, is open and curls you back. It uncoils the nadis and the grashis in here. Okay, Virkrasana, tree pose. So I love doing this pose both weight bearing and not weight bearing. So there's 3 variations of tree pose. Variation 1, the heel is on the ankle. It's hard to see, right? Because that's when we start. It's not always easy to balance on our feet. Variation 2 is on the calf. Variation 3 is when you draw the heel up and in. Right? Virkrasana. You press the heel on the inner thigh, you squeeze it together like a sandwich. That's it. Okay. So, Tadasana, right? So this is Urdhva Tadasana. Tadasana is just mountain pose. Here's a good one for always remembering, especially at work. I used to do this all the time. Most of us, we get used to typing, right? We're at work like this. So when we stand up, we're mimicking the same posture, right? So Tadasana is when we turn the palms forward. Takes the shoulder blades back. Whoa. Completely lifts everything. It's like, hello, right? So that's Tadasana, palms forward, standing tall like a mountain, spreading the toes, rooting down through all 4 corners of the feet. Yeah. Virabhadrasana 3, Warrior 3. So from Tadasana, right? You step the right foot forward, stretch the arms out, and this is Warrior 3. You're extended just like a T. Spreading the fingers, spreading the toes, engaging muscular energy. Sit back. Step back forward. Good. Alrighty, Ardha Chandrasana, half moon pose. This is a fun one. Most people, we need blocks for this one. So you come into Ardha Chandrasana, you step your foot forward. One hand's on the hip. So you usually have a block to lift the floor up. This is how most of them are. And you stretch the left arm up. So it's your half moon. So you're using half of your body here. You look like a half moon. And then you step back. We'll do the other side.
rooting down from the core of the pelvis into the left toe mound, stretching deep within the core of the hose out to the left heel. Turn. You're finding it, all the engagements in the core. So finding balance in the body, we're using our hypothalamus, right, our prefrontal cortex. So all these brain things are happening, that's why we're finding that sense of balance, right? Utthita Hasta Paragustasana, extended head to knee. So this is more of a, I would say, advanced pose. All these poses you can do on the ground, non-weight bearing. So that's also, we do non-weight bearing tree pose on the ground. Lay down, try these poses when it's not weight bearing, and what it does is it imprints your system to orient to these poses in a really optimal and aligned way. So this pose, you hold the leg out to the side, right? This is what it's asking us to do, this one, right? But what I'm asking you to do, you'll be able to do that, but go on the ground first. Make it accessible, and then allow that to happen. And then you imprint that. You start working first with the non-weight bearing, and when we become more comfortable and you find a good teacher, these weight bearing poses become accessible. Okay. Next one. Parasmottanasana, intense side stretch pose. Parasmottanasana. So you place your hands on your hips, both feet are facing forward. This is a really great pose. You want to square the hips. So there's an inner, you take the thigh back, you take that right thigh back. And then you bow forward. It's as if, what you can't see, this is the action. And I'm pressing my right heel forward, and I'm pressing the back heel forward. So it's two opposing opposites coming together. That's also known as yoga, right? So this one's going forward, that one's going back. And then as I bow forward, I lift the belly. and I bow forward. It's like I wanted to rip a hole through the yoga mat through here. And that's toning the legs. That's Parasmottanasana. Eagle pose, Ardhandasana. We all know eagle pose. So we're wrapping the arms and the legs together, which takes our left and right sides of the brain to work together. That's why this pose is really awesome for mood balancing. So usually to come in this pose, you bend your knees, right? There's different ways. We'll start with the right foot, and you lift it up and over. You draw the toes in the back, right? Get it in there. So the right goes over the left. Whoa. You sit down. You're sitting down, squeeze the knees and thighs. And to the second side. That's it. And the left arm goes over to the right. So release. Whew. The thing about balance poses, what it teaches us is that we're always wavering. And to find our balance is to lose our balance. And to lose our balance is to find our balance. And that's all these great things that when we embody these teachings, it changes our system. Because we're experiencing it in the body, not so much in the mind. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, we are getting short on time.
Yeah. We're almost done.
I wanted to ask about this, are you going into the sleep?
Yes, the next one.
Okay, perfect.
You go, we're almost there. See? Well, now, so these ones are advanced poses, so we're going to pass through that right now. We're not doing count, we're not going to do these here. Yoga for insomnia. So now we're going to work on the moon breath. So this is pranayama. Prana meaning life force energy, yama, control, right? So we're going to be using our breath and the moon breath. So what's really nice is, we call this moon breath, is by closing off our left nostril, right? Breathing in through the right. You hold for 3, you close the nostril off, and you exhale out through your left nostril. And you breathe in for 3, hold, and breathing out through the right nostril for 3. That's it. Inhale through 3. Hold. And then exhale for 3. Inhale for 3, 2, 1, hold. And exhale for 3, 2, 1. Good. And so when we start to do that, it's a little taste. This helps, as you notice, it massages the organs to activate the onset of sleep, signaling your vagus nerve, which goes through here to send messages to your brain to relax. So this is really awesome. It's really effective. And that goes to the question you're asking when when you're just like totally activated in some way, shape, or form, you can go and do pranayama or moon breath. Okay. Next. So, Padangusasana, so big toe pose. We did this one before, but this pose stimulates the liver and kidneys in the back body, activating the parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for releasing tension and putting the body to sleep, right? So this is this pose. So we start from this pose. We start with this. And then it starts to extend out. Move each side. And for this one particularly, the feet are parallel. So there's different modifications. That's a very advanced form. For this hand, you put your hands on your hips and then you fold forward. You place your fingertips, like your big, we always call this the peace fingers, grab the big toes and kind of look up and you'll exhale bow forward. So when you fold forward for long periods of time, you're cooling postures. The blood into the head, and then there's a feedback loop, and then sends the blood back down.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you do this when you're lying in bed?
This one, holding the toe, yes. This one, you have to be on the ground. This one, you kind of, and you know what's really nice to do when you're at home is to use the wall to help you. So I'm going to gently use the wall here. So when you're folding forward, you can put your back into the wall for the support. It helps open up the hamstrings. It's nice to use the wall. Okay, supine twist. So Roger Cole, he lives here. He works at Yoga Del Mar too. He's a sleep scientist. One of our celebrated yoga teachers who lives in San Diego. And he worked at the Salk Institute studying sleep and yoga. He's amazing. And he demonstrated that inverting, another one too, inverted or reclining postures like supine twist promote sleep by relaxing the the reflex node to maintain nearly consistent, constant blood pressure. So when you're laying on the ground, on your yoga mat, you can do this one in bed. You hug the knees into your chest, you stretch your arms out to the side, palms facing up, and you twist your knees to the right and you turn your head to the left. What this does is it rinses and soaks, twists the kidneys in the spleen here. It starts to massage and twist the internal organs. And then you hold that for 10 breaths, and then you go to the other side. That's it. All right, next one. That's one of my favorites. Okay, legs up the wall pose. So this pose is studied in most all protocols for reducing stress and insomnia, putting your legs up the wall pose. This completely passive pose allows you to focus on conscious relaxation as you prepare your mind for deep sleep. It has the added benefit of draining the stale blood from your legs and refreshing your circulatory system. It creates a feedback loop. So when you put your legs up the wall, like an L pose, I'll demonstrate here. What's happening is the old limb for old blood is pooling at the pelvic floor all the way here. The heart is is pumping a little bit more effectively to send fresh new blood up to the toes, and it's creating a complete new circuitry. This is helping the system. The femurs are reading deeper into the hip socket, which is affecting the central nervous system. So holding this pose anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes surely creates, and studies show, creates a huge system shift. Huge. You can also place bolster or block right underneath the sacrum there. Another really important part about sleep hygiene is not getting on the computer, watching television, having too many electronics around, really, practicing good sleep hygiene. I highly suggest using also a guided meditation before bed. Those have helped me tremendously. Just getting on Google, guided meditation, see how that goes. Some of them sound really hokey and corny, but some of them are really good too. So I hope this concludes the yoga for insomnia portion. Is there any questions at this time?
There was one that said they switched the slide, but it was just hand things.
Yeah.
And could you?
Yeah, let's go back to the first yoga for insomnia slide for the moon breath.
Yeah, it was underneath.
Yeah, that one there.
Yeah.
So in
Deer
thinking
seal.
of these, so that's a deer seal with your right hand by bending your index and middle finger to your palm, right? Leaving your ring and pinky finger extended. So this is the hand posture for when you're doing pranayama. So this is what I was taught. You take your peace fingers and you place them right here on your temples. So take your ring finger and close off your left nostril and breathe in through your right nostril. Close off with your thumb and exhale out through your left nostril. So I always think my peace fingers go right on my temple. That's it. Breathing in through the left nostril for 3, 2, 1. Hold. Close it off. Squeeze the nose. Then exhale out through the right nostril for 3, 2, and 1. One more time. Inhale through the right nostril for 3, 2, 1. Hold. And then exhale out through the left nostril for 3, 2, and
So is this the opposite of the moon? When we start with the moon?
No, it's the same.
It's the same.
This is the way, it's the same. It's just the way that was written. It's some practices, it's the same. This is just so much easier with teaching it with you right now here. It's like, that's yeah. Yes?
Will we be able to have a copy of the slides?
I believe so, right? Yeah, I think the dog would don't mind. Yeah. And like I said, the UCSD study and being part of other studies too, when you start to practice and start doing these practices 3 days a week, within a month you'll start to notice a system shift. I worked in the school system and I wrote curriculums so that junior high and high school kids could take yoga and meditation for class, for credit, and for PE. And so my whole job was teaching yoga. I wrote curriculums, right? So for 4 years I worked at this school, and most of the kids at this school, it's a private school, were on some type of continuum, were on medication, were either really brilliant or had Tourette's. I had a student, most of them had ADD. A lot of them were out of rehabs. A lot of them somehow struggled with some kind of adversity, mentally, emotionally, and physically. And so we did yoga. I had a student who was so depressed, and she was obese. She was over 300 pounds, and she lost 100 pounds in the first year. Like, all her medications went down. I had a student working with Tourette's that had showed significant improvement. The meditations with the students with the ADD was highly significant. My class was sold out for PE. All the kids wanted to do PE, yoga, and meditation. This was one-on-one. And to see the effects, and I was like, oh, okay, this needs to be, it's really important to see how quickly it happens. Because they're practicing it twice a day, and then their homework was to practice at home. And it was unbelievable. I wish I was, took more data and documenting, but So it's really, really powerful. So if anyone has any other questions, or if you feel more comfortable emailing me or emailing the Bipolar Foundation, please do. It is a personal thing, and you have to find your own flavor and what works for you. And there is something, and you create what you create what works for you. So thanks so much for taking out of your time and your evening and spending an hour with us and listening. And I'll be here if anyone else wants to talk or have any more questions.
Thank you.